Botswana Stock Exchange Chairperson, Ms. Nell Moki, and other members of the BSC board here present. The Botswana Stock Exchange Managing Director, Mr. Thapelo Tseole. Our keynote guest of honor, the Chairperson of the Botswana National Gender Commission, Ms. Phumaphi. Our panel moderator, Ms. Esther Kanimba Sonai, who's also the Chairperson of the SOS Children's Village in Tlokweni. Our fellow panelists, the Letlole La Rona Chief Executive, Mekamogelo Moaning, Ms. Tshegofatso Tlhong from CFA and from Core Capital as Chief Investment Officer, Mem Masololwane Marang. Very tough calling you Mem Masololwane. Marang has always been our little Marang, creative and cultural specialist and entrepreneur, and a founder of Tsatsiwe, a beautiful sunglass range. Ms. Kelebogile Joachimam, board member of the CSDB. Welcome. Members of the media, members of the public, and all key stakeholders within the capital markets ecosystems. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gathered here to celebrate Women's Day at the Open Bell ringing ceremony. My name is Sefalame Taha. I'm a professional speaker, host, a corporate banker by profession. My passion extends in the areas of financial services, having been a banker for over 14 years, digital transformation, corporate governance, social impact, and socio-economical issues, which is why I'm here today to speak about women. And I'll be your host. Welcome to this day. Please give yourselves a big round of applause. Thank you for honoring the invitation as we celebrate this, and to mention that this bell ringing, open bell ringing ceremony, we have all the stock exchanges around the globe celebrating this day. So it is an absolute honor for us to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Thanks for having us, Mr. Tseole and your team. Allow me to open today's discussion by a quote that I love by the Standard Bank Chief Executive, Mr. Sim Tshabalala. He says, "Achieving gender equity is a moral duty. It's a business imperative, and just plain common sense. Women embody half of the world's talent, skill, and energy, and more than half of its purchasing power. So every sensible business leader must be committed to achieving gender equity in their company and contribute to gender equity in the societies they operate in." How befitting, ladies and gentlemen, that this year's theme is Invest in Women and Accelerate Progress. Once again, give yourselves a big round of applause for being part of this. As we transform and we build a new narrative, we break barriers and we propel and take women to new levels. Today's platform is globally recognized, as I've already mentioned, across the stock exchanges around the globe, and it serves as a platform to signify the beginning of trading at the start, and it avails exchanges and listed entities to make news and announcements and celebrate corporate milestones. This is a corporate milestone that we want to celebrate. This ceremony allows us to create awareness and understanding that we're individuals and our individual thoughts have an impact in the communities that we operate in. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get into the theme, allow me to give you further context of why we should invest in women and accelerate progress. This theme encapsulates profound call to action in multifaceted ways, and for each one of us sitting in our areas of influence to reflect on how we're making a contribution to empower women. At its core, it highlights the crucial role that women play in driving societal advancement and emphasizes why it's important that we should not only provide gender equity or give them opportunities, but why we should invest our resources and our time to enable them to go to great heights. By framing the narrative around investment, it underscores tangible benefits that results from prioritizing initiatives that uplift women and economically and socially. ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome the BSE chairperson, who is a woman, to welcome us to the bell ringing ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Ms. Nell Moifi as she welcomes us.
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies. I would like to extend a warm welcome to BSE and CSDB board members here present. BSE CEO, Mr. Thapelo Tshepo. Our guest of honor, Chairperson of Botswana National Gender Commission, Memma Pumapi. Our distinguished panelists and moderator, Chairperson of SOS Children's Villages Botswana, Memma Esther Kanikumbasinayi. CEO of Letlole La Rona Limited, Memma Kamogelo Moane. Chief Investment Officer at Kori Capital, Ms. Tshegofatso Tlhong. Creative and cultural specialist, as well as founder of Zatsiwear, my very own niece, Marang Silurwane. The rest of the BSE management and staff, members of the media and public. Allow me to also acknowledge the presence of key stakeholders within the ecosystem of capital markets. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all, and thank you for having me. As we gather for the March 2024 edition of the BSE opening ceremony, ladies and gentlemen, we just don't symbolize, we make history. For those who don't know, the bell ringing has been happening for centuries, and it was to signal the markets to start trading. Today, we will ring the bell instead to honor International Women's Day under the theme, Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress. I humbly stand here today as the first woman to chair the BSE board. And being a woman, I am a minority amongst board chairs globally. I'm also a minority amongst the women leading a $1 trillion business out of Italy, Milan. And all I can say is, isn't it a good time to be a girl? I humbly stand on the shoulder of some true giants, guided by their trailblazing and inspiration. One such giant is Memma Pumapi. Do you know this lady is, she is a pioneer of female leadership and empowerment. You, Memma Pumapi, embody the true meaning of, if you can see it, you can be it. Mm-hmm. Growing up, watching you and other trailblazers like Memma Chiepe planted the seeds of leadership that have blossomed into leaders of today like me. And for that, I just want to thank you for paving the way. Today, we're not just acknowledging, but we're amplifying the critical importance of gender equality and women empowerment. The BSE joins the global chorus and stands in solidarity with other stock exchanges around the world in recognizing International Women's Day, reaffirming our commitment to fostering an inclusive and equitable society. The theme for this year is Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress, resonates with our values at the BSE. It also resonates with the values of Botswana, as we believe Mosadi ke thari ya setšhaba. A woman is the pillar of society. So this theme serves as a rallying cry to action, underscoring how the empowerment of girls and women is pivotal for both society, advancement, and economic growth. So why focus on women, one might ask? Why not the boy child? Why only women? That's because the journey towards gender parity is still an uphill struggle. I won't say how it started, but it's still an uphill struggle. We are where we are. Opportunities and justice often favor men over women. And despite having abundant female talent across the world and here in Botswana, there aren't enough women sitting at the leadership table. There aren't enough women in senior roles. There aren't enough women breaking the poverty cycle. There aren't enough women leaving legacies for their family. There aren't enough women shattering glass ceilings. There aren't enough women leading thriving teams. Sadly, gender-based violence still plagues many women and girls, including even in this country. As an African woman, before the game starts and the whistle blows, you're already 2-0 down. Because one, you're a woman, and number two, more often than not, you're born into poverty. So our focus at the BSc on investing in women and girls is a deliberate effort to rectify centuries of injustice and imbalance. That, ladies and gentlemen, is my answer to why women and why girls. The need for gender equality is even clearer at present times, where it is often that families and communities are actually led by women. So it's very strange that there's still pay disparity, the pay gaps, and also the difference in respect between women and men. I mean, in Botswana, statistically, there are more female households than male households. So the scales of value and the scales of respect, the scales of pay between men and women, they need to level up. They need to reflect the new reality. They need to reflect the reality that we are living in right now. As BSc Chair, I am proud of our efforts to champion women's causes. With 61% female representation in our workforce and 50% in management, diversity is our strength and is our asset. As chair of the BSc, I'm heartened by the BSc's strides towards creating a world order where women lead, innovate, and thrive. We champion the cause of women. Our goal is not to shatter the glass ceiling, but we want to lead the charge to redesign the whole building.
Absolutely.
Promoting gender equality requires a collective action and collaboration across various stakeholders and sectors, and we are not alone in this endeavor. I'm delighted to announce that the BSc will be acknowledging International Women's Day in partnership with key stakeholders, including the World Federation of Exchanges, the UN Women, Sustainable Stock Exchanges Initiative, World Bank Group, United Nations Global Contact, and the CFA Society of South Africa. This collaboration emphasizes the global commitment towards advancing the narrative of gender equality and empowerment of women. Together, we can leverage our collective resources, expertise, and influence to drive meaningful change and to create a more inclusive and equitable world for all. Before I conclude, I would like to express my sincere gratitude towards you all for taking your time out of your day to mark this historic moment with us. I would like to thank you all, our distinguished speakers, for accepting our invitation to speak today. I would like to extend my appreciation to the listed companies that are here and that continue to support us, as well as to the media for covering this important event. To all of you, your participation and engagement, are instrumental in amplifying the message of gender equality and inspiring positive action in our communities and beyond. In closing, let us reaffirm our commitment to investing in women, not just today, but 365 days of the year. As we ring the bell today, let the ringing symbolize not just a call to the market, not just a call to trade stocks and shares and bonds, but a call to trade tradition for inclusion. A call to action for diversity and women empowerment. A cause that the BSE is deeply devoted to. From the Botswana Stock Exchange to you, Happy International Women's Day.
Another big round of applause to the Botswana Stock Exchange chairperson. Thank you so much, Neo. We are right behind you. And congratulations, Mr. Tseole, having been leading this organization and achieving exploits. 60% women and 50% of those in leadership. Let's give them a big round of applause. And Neo did say that at the Stock Exchange, we just don't speak about it, but we do it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an absolute honor today once again to invite you to the celebration and to thank you women who took time to be here today, women who are working hard to create their future. By you being here, you're making a mark and you're sending out a message that gender parity is not something that cannot be achieved, but our collective efforts can achieve it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to acknowledge women who rise above the noise, ladies who decide to create their future, ladies who are releasing their power and embracing the future through this diverse society we're trying to build, ladies who are realigning their destinies and building an army of young girls who will step out of their comfort zones and pursue their dreams. Ladies, there's plenty of room for us to be at the top. Once again, give yourselves a big round of applause and thank you, Neo, for opening up. It gives me great joy and pleasure to welcome a very special woman. I believe each one of us who grew up in this beautiful country of Botswana will remember Memma Pumabi. Because that's how she was addressed when we were growing up. She's our guest of honor and the chairperson of the Botswana National Gender Commission. Memma Pumabi, you came, you inspired, you delivered, you were bold, you reprimanded, you were audacious, you trailed every blaze that we can imagine. You set the path for us. You told us it can be done. You showed us how it can be done. And we're here to see that it can be done. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Memma Pumabi as she gives us the keynote address.
Thank you so much, Director of Ceremonies. I would like to recognize in this very august assembly of beautiful women with tremendous potential and leaders, women leaders. The BSE chairperson, Ms. Neo Moki. A privilege to meet you and to share this platform with you. The BSE and CSBD board members who are present here, the BSE CEO, Raisu Retapelo Tseole, and our distinguished panelists and most distinguished moderator, the chairperson of the SOS Children's Village Botswana, my sister Esther Kanaimba Senai. A privilege as always. The CEO of Litolela Rona Limited, Ms. Kamogelo Moaneng, Chief Investment Officer at Kgodu Capital, Ms. Tshegofatso Tlhong, Creative and Cultural Specialist as well as founder of Tsatsi Wear, Ms. Marantsho Lolwane. and the rest of the BSC management and staff, members of the media and the public, distinguished guests, please allow me to also acknowledge the presence of the key stakeholders within the capital markets ecosystem of this country. Bagaetsho, it is a privilege for me to come and speak here. I think, barring my sister Esther, I'm easily the oldest person in the room. And it makes my heart jump with joy, because it shows that our country is young, is vibrant, and it has the energy, the drive, the determination, and the dynamics to actually get us to become a first world economy. But not just a first world economy where gender equity prevails. That is important. I want to extend my gratitude to the Stock Exchange for giving me this opportunity to give voice to the 51% of our country's population on International Women's Day. We are 51% of this country, Botswana women. The theme of this year is Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress. There is a pivotal role for the Stock Exchange, given studies conducted by leading experts, including Forbes, that have concluded that women are better investors than men. There is indeed a pivotal role that the Stock Exchange can play advancing gender equality. You can commit to promoting inclusivity and diversity, as the chair has said, with the financial sector by attracting more female investors. Globally, in mature markets, she will attest to this, around 60% of women invest in the stock market, and 68% save for retirement. Indeed, women investors get better investing returns than men, I beg your pardon. That is the reality. So why can we not open this door? And this is why we have this vibrant woman here, commemorating International Women's Day today, demonstrating that the Botswana Stock Exchange has no intention of leaving Botswana women behind. You are on board. This is an opportunity to share with women the value of understanding and investing in the stock market. Botswana has made great strides, it has been said, in getting our women ready by giving them equal access to education, health services, and we appreciate that this has been a key driver of growth and development in our country, enable us to reach middle income status. But why have we been in middle income status for so long? Is it not because there are other areas where there is a lot of room for improvement? Is it not because women and babies in the Northwest, part of Central District, suffer from and die from easily preventable diseases like malaria? Why do we have malaria in Botswana? We've got no excuse. In addition, why is it that financial literacy has not become the norm in our country? Why is it that we are still talking about mainstreaming of gender into government sector? What is that? Why is it remain behind? Why is it that in a parliament as big as ours, only 3 women won the elections? Last parliamentary elections, only 3. The rest were put there as specially elected members. And yet the majority of voters in this country are women. How do you explain that? How do you explain that we have a cabinet that is dominated by men? When are we going to see a woman as president of this country? We have deep-rooted cultural norms, unfavorable practices and beliefs that have created barriers and discriminatory practices which prevent women from seeking entry into these leadership positions or taking charge of their lives and their livelihoods. In addition to ongoing amendments to laws, regulation, policies, changes in attitudes and behaviors of the society, we need as women to step up to the plate and say we are going to advance this change because we have to be the change that we want to see. We need to have seriously crippling practices like gender-based violence, sexual violence, which impacts women and the girl child. the most, including child marriage, which is illegal in Botswana, but is still being practiced. And nobody is arrested. Have you seen any newspaper article about a man who is being arrested because he's married a child? But they are marrying children in this country. Yet the law is there, is not being enforced. Why are we quiet as women? As the Gender Commission, we advocate strongly for equal pay, for equal work, promoting women's leadership and representation in decision-making positions, providing support for women entrepreneurs. But the power of what we say is the woman. So don't wait for us. Let us run this race together. The Ministry of Finance has started focusing on mainstreaming of gender, but they still have a long way to go. They've conducted an assessment to say where are they lacking. There's a lot to be done on gender budgeting, on gender audits, and there is a huge gap in participation of women in the financing instruments that governments make available to the public. If you look at the resources that have been made available to women, even from the old mechanisms, like the National Development Bank, like CEDA, you will find it's a municipal amount compared to what the men have gotten. So we must make it clear as women, particularly you, the young women, that this cannot go on. We want our share of resources. I therefore invite the stock exchange to become actively engaged in a structured, multi-sectoral, national financial literacy program that will train every woman, even in the remotest of the remote areas, that will train our children from primary school about what financial literacy is and how to manage resources. Because we don't just want women to get access to the resources, to the means of development, but we want them to know how to use them and to manage them effectively. Botswana women are ready to unlock their potential. As drivers of innovation, productivity, we have examples here. Economic and social development. The private sector is leading the way in demonstrating this, as the stock exchange has already shown. But we need government to catch up. We need political leadership to catch up. By establishing the National Gender Commission, the government is demonstrating its commitment. But we want them to walk the talk, to create an environment where women can thrive and contribute to this nation's progress. Because we are not going to become a first world economy without the women. It won't happen. The enabling environment that is envisioned in Vision 2036, that requires sustained commitment, collaboration, investment by all stakeholders, investing in women, in girls, accelerating progress, gender equality, that calls for social inclusion, for skills development, for building youth and children's well-being. This is a vision of gender equity that we must accept. If we do not achieve gender equity as a country, we will not attain Vision 2036 or any other vision that will come after that. So I'm here today to encourage you not just to embrace where you are, but to own where you want to go. Because it is by owning that woman president, owning that 50% representation in parliament, owning the elimination of all the laws that discriminate against women, owning the financially literate women who are going to lead economic growth and development in this country, power the financial markets. It is by owning that change that we want to see that we can celebrate International Women's Day and celebrate our vision as a country. So it's time to walk the talk, all of us. Those who are not walking the talk, let's drag them. They must come with us. This is a walk for all of us. empower women. Pagetso, ke a le leboga. A le nelwe ke pula.
Another big round of applause for Memma Pumaki, sending out a strong message and a course of action to the BSE to facilitate and come up with a financial literacy program that will not only provide financial services to women in the city, but even in the remote areas, so that we can provide equality across the country. Botswana will not be a high-income country without women, and we can't reach that without women. Ladies and gentlemen, swiftly moving into the next part of the program, I'm delighted to introduce our next speaker, whom we all grew up knowing, Memma Esther Kanaimba Sanai, who will be leading the discussion and a panel discussion with our fellow panelists to really speak on the issues that we're addressing and that they deal with within their respective areas. Allow me to also acknowledge the CFA Society of South Africa, whose mandate is to drive responsible investment industry, who've partnered with the BSE to make this event a success. By framing the narrative around investment, this year's theme underscores tangible benefits that result from prioritizing women economically and socially. Studies consistently demonstrate positive correlation between gender equality in economic opportunities and overall prosperity, making it imperative to channel resources towards eliminating the barriers that currently exist. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Memma Esther Kanaimba and the fellow panel to take us through this next part of the program.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to be here. Let me recognize the chairperson of the Botswana Stock Exchange. Let me recognize the presence of the chairperson of the Botswana National Gender Commission, dynamic women who have set the tone for us this morning, and they will soon be joined on the podium by 3 more ladies as we delve deeper into the topic this morning for our discussion. It is actually, this is the topic that we'll be discussing: intentional investment in women, shaping the next era of Botswana's prosperity. We are driving towards prosperity, which, as you have heard this morning, cannot be attained without embracing women and making sure that women play a pivotal role in economic development and any other area of everybody's lives endeavor. It's a panel of predominantly young people, which it should be. So as Mapo Mape said, I think on this stage, she and I are the only older persons. But I think there's justification for that. Experience also has to come into play. So we're proud that we're here. Thank you so much, Mr. Tseole and your team, and the chairperson for getting us here. We are going to delve into this thing. I have how many minutes? And I should go beyond 10, you're saying? Great. So we're going to start with the chairperson, Madame Moki, as chairperson of BSE. What does intentional investment in women mean? And how can this catalyze Botswana's economic growth and development in the next decade? I'd like to request you to just answer at maximum 2 minutes.
So I guess you've heard that I'm investing women, and replying to my counterparts who asked me what is going to drive Botswana's prosperity, the next boom, I say it's not just diamonds, it's not just tourism, but it's the people of Botswana. And not just the people of Botswana, but Botswana women. Yes, you heard that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Investing in women. Now, before you raise your eyebrows, let me clarify. Pouring resources into women empowerment is far from charity. It is the smartest economic move Botswana as a country could make. Why, you ask? Well, let's dive in. First things first, let's debunk a myth that investing in women is a nice to do. It's not a nice to do. It's a definite game changer because it is not a zero-sum game. We're talking about a multiplier effect that ripples across families, communities, and entire economies. Take me as an example. I don't only look after my immediate family, but after my extended family. And that is the multiplier effect. Imagine planting a single seed and watching an entire forest grow. That is the power of investing in women. I'm not making this up. The number crunchers have spoken. From Credit Suisse to McKinsey, the verdict is in. Companies with women at the helm aren't just surviving, they are thriving. They're boasting profitability and innovation that leaves the old boys club in the dust. And it's not just companies. Countries with narrower gender gaps are showing us how it's done. More competitive, more prosperous, and more progressive. Rwanda, Norway, Iceland, New Zealand, the Philippines are just examples. Why are we talking global when we have a gold mine right here in Botswana? Statistically, Botswana has more women than men, and there are more female-led households than men. They present an untapped investment potential. Mosadi Tharia Sechaba, a woman is the pillar of the nation. It isn't just a saying, it is a blueprint for our economic revolution. Yes, a revolution. If you can empower women, you will be empowering the majority. Therefore, the nation. So here's the million-dollar question. As an investor, are we fully leveraging this incredible asset? Are we really enable our women to unlock their full potential, or are we just letting this opportunity slip through our fingers, keeping Botswana's economy from reaching its full potential? The choice is very clear. As an investor, I would put my money on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wouldn't it be wonderful for us to be counted amongst those countries that you just counted on your fingers? The Rwandas, the Norways of this world. We are going there by hook or by crook. Next is the chairperson of the Botswana National Gender Commission, Madam Pumapi. Can you share your perspective on the current state of women's economic participation in Botswana and its impact on the nation's prosperity? In doing so, I would like you to touch on the policies that have been most effective in supporting women's economic empowerment in our country, and the gaps as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. What has worked for Botswana, as I said earlier on, the reason why we were able to move rapidly to middle income status is because we enabled access to education for women. If we had continued the tradition of just educating the men, this country would still be a low-income country. But we needed to take a step further and give them access to means of production. So just educating the woman, giving her the skills is not enough. You need to give her access to the land. You need to give her access to the finance. You need to empower her to be able to be a decision maker and not continue to say the decision makers have to be men. You need to give her the space, a seat at the table, so that she can make those decisions in order to bring other women in. And if you don't do that, you remain stuck in that in that space where we are now as a middle income country. So what we need to do is to go into the next phase. And like I said earlier on, the private sector has started doing that in Botswana because they have realized that this is the way that they can actually make more money. They are more productive if they engage the 51%. But the public sector is still to wake up to this reality. But unfortunately, the public sector is a key player in the economic growth of the country. So this is what is holding us back. But another issue that is holding us back is the fact that we continue to not respect the right of a woman, particularly the human rights of the women. We feel more men have got more entitled to human rights and to self-actualization than women do. Women should be followers. And it is primarily this mentality which is leading to the increased domestic violence in this country. And domestic violence in Botswana is actually higher than in our neighboring countries, for those who don't know. Some might say, oh, it's there in South Africa, it's there in Namibia. It's there, but we have got higher statistics here in this country per capita than them. So what is the cause of that? Why are we sticking to these traditional norms, these traditional beliefs that are actually holding not just the women, but the whole country down? So that is why I called for financial literacy. Because financial literacy is a skill that is needed not just by the women, but also by the men. So I think it should be a universal a program covering everybody, but it will actually enable the women to occupy the space even better. We need to open up our financial schemes, the new ones, Wachema Chema, both the all of those need to be opened up to women. And you don't open them up to women by just saying, oh, the women can apply if they want. You know that there are impediments, societal impediments there already. You know that the people who are actually approving the loans are men. Who are looking at the application and approving the loans are men. So they're going to put more men in there. And that is exactly what has happened. So this is how we need to open that space. We also need to put in laws that actually encumber us to take some of these actions. And that is why we were hoping as a commission that the constitutional review would actually give the women the space, particularly the political space, but it has not happened.
Thank you very much. Great insights there. And I think most relevant for the BSC is really this financial literacy thing, especially when it comes to women. I think there is an opportunity there to lead in that space. Thank you very much, Mema Pumapi. We're moving on to Letlolila Rona, CEO, and the question that goes to you is, what are the primary challenges that women in Botswana still face when trying to excel in the workplace and get to leadership positions, including on boards, and what strategies can be implemented to overcome these obstacles?
Thank you very much, Esther, for that question. I think really two of the panelists have covered some of the factors. I think I'll break them down into three. The first one being the socio-cultural norms, which are the fact that, again, women are followers, so we don't go out there. Second one being the fact that there's a lot of female-led households. So with that amount of responsibility, how do you then balance the two? And then there's also the corporate factors again. From a leadership perspective, there's a perception or expectation that as a leader, you're the first to get in, you're the last to get out. But then linking it back to the responsibilities that you have back home. The question is, again, how do you manage all of that? But I think for me, what I'd like to take a more controversial view to say, I think is really personal factors that I think weigh the most. As we all know, women have low self-esteem generally. So we don't put ourselves out there, we don't lean in, we don't put our hands up. So for me, I think what I've seen is that even during the recruitment process, even during the interview process, you'll get more applications from males than females. And then also when you look at the quality of the people coming to the interviews, you'll get a man confidently walking into an interview saying all the wrong things. Then you'll get a female walking in there scared, shaking, saying all the right things. And you can see that for me, I've seen that that's really our own impediment. So I would implore women, be more confident, get out there. Learn from a man. I like sitting and observing men. They walk in the room and it's like they own the room. We walk in and we're quite apologetic. Sorry. A man will walk in 20 minutes late to a meeting and, start the meeting as if nothing ever happened. We have to psych ourselves up, apologize 10 times before we do that. So I think the platform is there. Let's get out there and let us be confident in what we know. Let us put our hands up. Let us be bold. Let us be more resilient. Let us be intentional about our progression plans. I think that's something that we're also, again, as women, shy about. We're shy to go to our leaders and say, listen, from a career perspective, this is what I'd like to achieve at the end of the day. Because we're afraid for but men aren't like that. So we should really, really learn from them.
Great stuff. Really great insights. And I think there's nothing wrong with a woman actually taking time to say, I am going to learn to become a great leader. Nothing that cannot be learned. Everything can be learned. So just go out there and say, today I'm going to learn to become a great speaker. So that I'm not shy when I stand in front of the crowds and I articulate my points confidently. Great stuff, because really women, we are our own worst enemies. More than that, we also tend to also undermine each other. We think, I don't think what that one. So, and then that you don't know from anywhere, and you think they can do a better job. Let's quickly move on now. We are going to, thank you, Mamwani. We're going to Tsamofa Zotong, Chief Investment Officer, Corey Capital. How can education and skills development programs be tailored to empower women with the tools they need to succeed in the corporate space and in entrepreneurship?
Good morning to you all. Thank you for that question. So I think, when the CFA Institute asked me to speak today, it was serendipity because 11 years ago, right, I wrote to them and I told them, listen, in June, I'm going to be 38 weeks pregnant with my first child, but I am coming to write the exam in Joburg. Make arrangements. And they made arrangements, right? So I think to what Gamo was saying, our first thing is we do not come in and say, hey, I'm coming, make space. I'm not going to do it the way you're doing it, but I will get it done. Make space for me, to enable me to get it done. And even after that, like again, Gamo was saying, learn from the men. I have been privileged to meet incredible men who have invested and guided me to say, listen, don't do it that way. They're lowballing. Increase your audacity, right? Don't take that path. Don't be apologetic. They're not offering you the right position, right? And we now need to be that for our upcoming generation to say, hey, ladies, audacity, right? You can do it. You know you can do it. We're not short of education. We're not short of technical skill. We are not short of ambition, right? It is to say that, like our speakers have said, we have other facets of who we are. We are not men. The normal journey in terms of career or entrepreneurship has been defined by a man. We are not men, right? Don't try and fit into what that is, because that is burnout. There's a lot of other things that we carry. But what you can do is say, listen, I want to do this, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to go about it differently. Make space, because I'm coming. Love it.
Love it. Love it. For the gentlemen in the crowd, make space. Women are coming. Thank you so much. Thank you. For the first round, as we conclude the first round of questions, we go to Memarang Selolwane, creative and cultural specialist. She's a founder of Tsatsiwe. I understand it's a glass. Eyewear, yeah. So the question to you is, and I'm sure we've heard some of these, but you may want to add on, the cultural norms and societal attitudes that may hinder women's economic empowerment and how these can be addressed.
Thank you so much. Good morning, ladies.
You all look so fabulous.
You look amazing. Before I answer that question, I just want to thank and applaud the BSC for such an amazing initiative. I love that the panel is quite diverse, you know, in terms of industry as well, including someone from the creative economy, such as myself, and of course having a balance of age as well. I think that's very important to include younger people in such spaces, especially spaces often deemed intimidating, you know, or elitist. So thank you very much. Going to the question, so I just want to bring it home. I am one of 4 girls. I have 2 older sisters and 1 younger, so we are an all-female home. And much of my childhood, we were raised as just the 4 girls and my mom. My parents are divorced, so my dad is active, but and to be honest with you, I think that has really shaped the person that I am. And I think it's important when you have these conversations to also look back on how we were raised. Earlier I was having a conversation so you are here, you are thriving. How did you arrive at this place with so much confidence? And she said to me, I show up, you know, I make myself available. And then I proceeded to ask her, is that something you learned or is that innate? And her answer was very interesting, and it just got me thinking about how often at time we forget our childhood and how that plays a pivotal role in the people we become. And that goes back to the cultural norms, at least most of us in the room, right? And a lot of us have similar upbringing. For me, coming from an all-female household, gender stereotypes have never been a thing, even with my father. He's never recognized, he doesn't have a boy, so I don't even think he had the choice, you know? But we've always been able to do what our male counterparts or what our male cousins could do as well. Speaking to my grandmother, who is married, she ran successful businesses while her husband went to work. My mother, a single parent or part single, was a civil servant and would ran a business in Soroe. Every weekend I'd see my mom drive to Soroe and run a business. So I've only ever seen women thriving. It was challenging, but thriving. And going back to cultural norms, it'll show you just how important it is for us to remove gender stereotypes in how we raise our kids, to stop gendering even duties more like being. Small things like, those things are outdated, they're archaic, they no longer apply, you know, especially in a space where women are taking up leadership roles, women are leading households. Small things that, you know, even us as new age moms, we take for granted. Gendering toys, gendering play, you know, Mwana Musitsana doesn't ride a blue bicycle, you know, you get them like a pink little trolley bike, you know, or doesn't play karate, or doesn't get involved in karate lessons and ballet. I'm giving practical examples because we sit here and we think, and we do know better, but we just don't apply it practically every day. But we really are creating those, we are perpetuating those cultural norms, which will then later on impede the girl child's growth and the girl child's ability to take up space in male-dominated spaces. I think it's very important for us to cultivate confidence more from a very young age. For me, growing up, my dad or both my parents would take us to the doctor, and as soon as you sit down, they'd ask you to, one of my parents would say, tell the doctor what's wrong, speak up. It's your body, I'm not in your body, tell us what's going on so we can help you. And it's those principles that you then apply every day as you grow up and you apply in different areas of your life. So I think those cultural norms that even now are still applicable, we still do apply, just not as overtly. We really need to start introspecting and removing from our homes. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. And you know, sometimes we think that our men understand that it's important for them to have us as equals. But then you still get somebody saying, "Nna ke monna, ha ke bua, o nne ha batsi." What is that in 2024? What is that? So these are some of the things that we want people to get out of their system and remember that we are both created equally in the eyes of the Lord. Right, we're going to the second round of our questions, if time permits, Thapelo. Okay, and again, I'm going to the chairperson of the BSC, Ms. Neo Mogi. Looking ahead, what are the key priorities and strategies for sustaining momentum and progress in investing in women's prosperity in Botswana? Perhaps you can also share whether there are any lessons from other countries, where they have had to invest in women, and we can then learn from them.
So I'd consider a two-pronged strategy to tackle how we propel the future forward. One that is led by women and is propelled forward by the next generation. Prong number one, I've come across prong number one is around women's empowerment, and there are a few initiatives that have been mentioned even by Mema Pumape, such as financial literacy, such as empowering women businesses by being intentional about investing in them, gender lens, investing, digital empowerment, leveraging mobile banking and digital banking, and literally even social media. Leveraging technology to basically catalyze women's empowerment, financial empowerment. If you look at social media at the moment, there are women who are making millions every single week out of just social media, proving that your borders don't have to impede your success. And then there are other things such as sort of accelerators, scale-ups, accelerators, and policy reforms that basically target directing finance towards women, enhancing women's agricultural opportunities, forging public and private partnerships, and promoting women in leadership through quotas and incentives. The latter one is a big one in Europe, actually. It's used to incentivize boards and companies and leaders in terms of how they're paid. And in fact, there are some clients who refuse to give us money because we didn't have enough women in our staff. And that is one that I think we can play a part even as the BSC, given that we are actually at the forefront of this. And I think I'd like to commend, I know that Mema Pumape has mentioned that there's a lot that the government needs to do, but I would like to commend the President, current HE Masisi, for pushing women forward, because he's always backed the agenda of women and the girl child. The first prong up, I would say, and I'm going to repeat what I said earlier, through all these measures, sort of incubators, public-private partnerships, etc., we need to be intentional about directing investments towards women, because we won't just shatter the glass ceiling, we will redesign the whole building. The second prong is about preparing the next generation to be able to survive in a global context. We need to revamp our education to focus on STEM, AI, education, financial literacy. I mean, while we're busy being taught about the different parts of an insect, or the glaciers and ice in the Arctic North for the whole year, some of the kids in the developed world, and I see them. Their parents are preparing them to go to Oxford, to Harvard, to MIT, to be the next Elon Musk, to be the next CEO of Goldman Sachs. They're being taught differently. Because, ladies and gentlemen, they know what we all know, but we're not applying, which is that the future belongs to those who can code, to those who can calculate, and to the creators. So we also need to embed mindset change, ethics, sustainability, and a global perspective into every lesson, every investment, and every policy. Because the world that our children are going to lead tomorrow needs leaders today who think beyond our borders and beyond today. So there you have it, my blueprint for Botswana's brighter future, which is powered by women and propelled forward by the next generation. Both women win. It's ambitious, but it's not impossible. If the likes of Randa and others can do it, so can we. So Botswana Bethu, let's roll up our sleeves and make it happen. One empowered woman at a time, and one inspired child at a time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I like your mention of quotas and incentives. Oftentimes in this country, if you mention quota, everybody says, no. Everybody has to be a competitive environment. But we know that the playing field is not level. So I think let's, implore those who can to move away from this fear of quotas. I think it's a good point that you've made there. Member Kumabi, what are the key metrics and indicators we can leverage to measure the success and impact of investment in women? What advice can you give in that space so that we're Thank you.
I believe the chair has actually mentioned some of the important measures that we have to use. The first one is resources, the access to resources. And control over those resources, not just access but control. And also control over future claims of those resources. Because, sometimes we will give a woman, access to land for 20, 30 years, and you say the woman have access to land. But what about the next 20, the next 30 years? We should still have access. So the future claims to the assets is also important. But let's also treat education as an asset. And education not just as going to school, but as the chair has said, in opening your eyes to what is happening outside, including digitalization, including understanding how global markets work, and how to identify where you need to invest your money, and what type of industries you need to go into, and what skills you need in order to have our children ready to occupy that space. So that education is an asset. It is not just that is necessary. So the first is the asset, and then the agency that people talked about here, the ability to negotiate, to make strategic decisions. From the time that you are a child, we women bring up our children. Let's bring up our girl child to be strong. You are not sending her out into a soft world. It's hard out there. It's challenging her. Empower her. Put her out there with the skills she needs and the power. Don't teach her to play with dolls and be a homemaker. Teach her to win and attack those markets and to win. So that gaining that agency starts from that age. But we all of us have to be brave enough to assume that, like my daughter here has just said, we have to be brave enough to harness and to grab those opportunities. So the agency, and then the freedom. We need laws that will free us as women. Laws must not encumber us. We need laws that will free us so that we are not seen as if we are competing against change. But we must be part of that change. So I think those indicators, that is the how free are we, how much agency do we have, and the access to the resources and means of production. those are the indicators that are going to tell you whether you are actually going to be there or not, because they'll put you on the decision-making table, they'll make you the designer of the policies, the implementer, and the beneficiary.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. We have to play in all those spaces. You know, you do the laws as well, you implement them, and you are also a beneficiary. That's a good point. Mamwaneng, what opportunities exist for cross-sector collaboration between government, the private sector, and civil society organizations to advance women's economic empowerment?
Thank you very much. I think with that one, maybe taking it from the top going down from a government perspective. We all know government is very good at making policies. The issue is the implementation, and that's where the private sector can then come in. I mean, in 2022, they passed the Economic Empowerment Act, right? Economic Inclusion Act. And what's still sort of left up in the air is they talk about targeted citizens and being beneficial to targeted citizens. And we still don't have a definition of what that targeted citizens is. So it's number one, from a clarity perspective, to say we have this act and this is our expectation from the private sector. I like what Mapumape said, to say the private sector is actually leading in this respect. And government is lagging, but we need their support to be able to push it all the way through. For example, when we look at even the laws that are made, maternity leave, I think last time I checked it was 50% of your pay. But these are people who are creating the next generation. So even from an economic progress or acceleration perspective, we're also talking human beings, we're also talking about human lives. So why are we not making laws again that are favorable to increase the population, to lead the population, and as well as lead from the boardroom or from the CEO's perspective, you know? So some of the, maybe like we're trying to encourage exports, you get, you know, tax exemptions on certain aspects. So why don't we have that again for companies that have women leaders or board, sitting in the boardroom, or CEOs or CFOs, whatever they may be. So tax incentives can be given. It goes back to access to financing as well. And so there are quite a lot of initiatives. Even from a private sector perspective, we need to be setting clear goals. That needs to be in our balanced scorecards to say, you know what, gender diversity is quite important. And I think I'd like to applaud one of my board members is actually here, Ms. Katso Haubakwe. And for LLR, that's actually something that is on our scorecard, to say we need to have gender diversity. And you know, as a woman leading LLR, I'm proud to say that 90% of our executive team is actually female, 4 out of 5. Wow. And what we've seen as well is, going back to Mosadike Tariasicha, but they not only focus on what's happening in the workplace, they also take into account external factors. Because we're natural leaders, we're natural nurturers, we're able to see how the decisions that we make in the workplace impact everything, our everyday lives. So I think there needs to be deliberate targets, strategies, and goals, and tracking towards it. And government needs to incentivize us the same way that it's setting up special economic zones, giving people tax incentives. Do that for companies which are women-led or to promote gender diversity. So I think from a government and private sector collaboration, that's really how we can work it. There's one bank that I must applaud. Every time I pass by there, and I'm like, wow, I work in the CBD, and they have a kids lounge. You know, they actually understand that women, again, going back to, there are a lot of female-led homes, but they're making it conducive for women to still work, knowing that, you know, their children are taken care of, whether it be late night or weekends. And it enables the women to be well-rounded as well, to be able to give 100% to their work, knowing that their company is taking care of their children. So as leaders, as policymakers, as people who, you know, create our strategy, we actually need to implement those, you know, even simple, flexible working hour or hybrid working solutions. We know that these days the world is competitive. We want to take our kids to DMSS for swimming lessons. So the workplace should allow that, okay, take that 1 hour, spend with your family, but because you know that also when you do that, you're actually more productive. because you know that the company is taking care of you, so you'll take care of the company. Hey, so yeah, make it conducive in terms of all the laws, the regulations, and implementation. For me, it's the implementation part that really needs to be refined.
Great. Fantastic. I think there is, for those of you who don't know, back in the day when we were having children, you were not paid for maternity leave. Completely.
No.
You were not paid. It was, you just go, you know, you've messed up, go ahead and sort yourself out. And eventually we got to 50%. Isn't it time we went to 100%?
Yes.
Now to...
I can attest that in the market where I'm operating, it's 100% up to 1 year. And if you want to go beyond 1 year, then it starts going down. In addition, there's a policy around this being able to be shared between the father and the mother. So the mother could actually go and do 4 months and then go back to work, and then the father takes the rest of the time off to go and look after the baby. That's the promise.
Lessons learned. Learn from the best. Marthon, in what ways can Botswana's financial institutions adapt to provide more accessible funding and capital for women-owned enterprises?
I think the starting point is the asset owners, right? Who owns this money? And what mandate am I giving you as my service provider, right? Because financial institutions are service providers for their clients, right? So the client is the one who tells me what to do with the money, how to deploy the money, what sort of KPIs do I have to meet with their money, right? So the first instance is us as the asset owners, right? Banks lend our deposits, right? Asset managers invest our pensions, right? So it is for us to say, okay, you as my service provider, for X amount of my capital, right, I would like you to invest in this sort of structure, right? Because it has to be structured. Because when our mothers were running businesses, it wasn't structured the way our fathers did it, right? You'll find that the tuck shop is run by a lady, Mustarate, again, and she has her children that she's tending to. She's teaching them how to run businesses, right? That's where the bedrock of our financial literacy and learning how to run a business came from. It's coming from watching our mothers, because they're the ones who take their children to work, right? When my mother was running Junior Achievement Botswana, I went to work with her, right? I was in the office. I learned about business from her. So it is now to say, okay, the needs of these businesses are different. We cannot structure solutions the way we've traditionally structured solutions, because there are nuances there, right? And we as the asset owners need to know that there are nuances, therefore the expectations have to be different. Not that we hold a lesser bar in terms of our expected return, but the way that we structure and invest is different, right? And it has to be an effort, a concerted effort to say we are going to structure a product, we're going to structure a solution, and we're going to raise money for the solution, and we are going to use this to go and make X amount of impact. And then it is because as an intermediary, you can structure all you want, right? You can create the best product that will solve these issues. But if the asset owner doesn't back that solution, then you're not going anywhere, right? So it has to be from all tiers to say, if I'm the asset owner, I'm not there making the decision, but when you make a decision, I want you to allow and align that decision making, because I have this goal. And then I, as the asset owner, will then say, okay, you have given me this type of risk capital. I can now take these sort of risks that traditionally I wouldn't have been able to if you had given me a traditional mandate. right? And then we structure things that make sense and actually further our goals. Because on the one end, we're saying, hey, we want to achieve X, Y, and Z. But when we actually look at how the mandates are structured, they're not structured to achieve those goals. And then I'm the problem. So you are not structuring solutions or you are not on lending. But the owner of the money didn't give me that mandate. And ultimately, I am answerable to the owner of that mandate, right? So we all need to play our part, not certain segments, but all of us need to come to the table and say, okay, we say we want this. We are now ready to put our money where our mouth is, our time, right? Our efforts to pull this together. And it doesn't have to be the broader economy, right? We can set an example because most people want to jump on a bandwagon that's moving, right? It takes a handful of us to say, okay, we are going to do this, and people will follow.
Thank you very much. I think just one person to break through, and as you say, everybody then follows. We come to the flavor of the month, and then eventually we have a revolution. Right. The next question to Marcelo Loane, from the grassroots level. How can we prepare the next generation of Botswana to promote gender equality?
Thank you so much. This is such a layered question with very layered answers. So it goes back to the cultural norms, but more than that, limited understanding of this very topic that we're here discussing. It's very easy for us in this space to talk about gender equality, but what we see on the ground and the policies that have been set in these very important spaces being applied. And I'm sure Mapumapi will agree, who's on the ground, that what we talk about here, you probably won't see happening you know, coming with the fancy language, with the fancy policies, well written, well documented, but the application and the implementation just doesn't read, you know, and that's how you find that even in our homes, there's still, you know, lack of gender equity, you know, going back to gendered play, even just simple things like duties molate, you know, the boys have their own duties, they will do what they need to do, you know, whereas the younger girls will then have to sit at home and just do what women are supposed to do at home, right? Or what stereotypes say they should do at home. And I'm bringing up the extracurricular activity there because it's also important in building us as human beings, right? And men apply those principles in different areas of their lives, right? And they thrive in those areas. So I just wanted to also go back to the fact that even from a policy point, we need to start to disaggregate the way we collect our data. Because as a researcher, even just simple data collection around the CCIs in Botswana and the involvement of women in the CCI's creative and cultural sector in Botswana, there isn't enough data to even show that. So how do we even know what's on the ground while we're up here and speaking about these policies? So I'm more interested in seeing how, you know, the commissions are going to roll out all the policies and, you know, all the recommendations that will be given. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very good point you're making about data. You know, we really do need data because if you don't have data, what basis are you going to place even the interventions that you'd like to have? I also chair a new organization called Women in Mining Botswana, and one of the things that we're failing to get now is how many women are in mining, in what part of mining, what are they doing, and I think data is really key, and I think it's something that we probably would have to engage with. You meet your 18-year-old self. I would want you in 3 words, what did you say to your 18-year-old self?
As a woman, you can figure it out.
4 words, but I think still captures the essence.
All right, I would say audacity, babes. Audacity. Yes, that's it. Audacity.
I would say courage, perseverance, and I don't know what the third one would be.
Still good enough.
Courage and perseverance.
Courage and perseverance. Morning.
I would say 2 statements. Be resilient and be bold and confident.
Resilience, bold, confidence.
There's a lot that I could say. As an investor, I might say Tesla, Amazon. Tesla, Amazon, and Apple. Yeah.
Thank you.
But really, I would have a lot to say, but I think I would just say, you're gonna be okay.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity to be here. I'm hoping that you got quite a few insights. Take homes are there, I hope. All I can say is that let's do something to accelerate women's economic growth.
There we have it, ladies and ladies, Tesla, Amazon, and Apple. Thank you, Masanai, for that engaging conversation. We are addressing the social norms that impede us from growth. We're addressing ourselves and breaking down the barriers that have stopped us from reaching our full potential. We're going to be audacious. We're going to show up. We're going to prepare. We're going to sit at the table. And we are going to invest in women and accelerate progress. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for the last panel. Ma Samarani, Tseho, Neo, Mamorang, and Mapuma, Mamoremu, Muwaning. Apologies, Mapuma, but thank you so much for that discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Botswana Stock Exchange bell ringing ceremony. 2024 Women's Day celebration under the theme Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress. In the count of 3, 2, 1, 0, as we break the markets and mark a new chapter that will change the narrative of our country. Big round of applause. Look at the wonderful men. Since you come here. Wow. Our children will remember. Our children will remember. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Thank you very much. You may take your seat. She's a pro at it. Well, gentlemen, this is what happens at women's conference. So, not one though, several.
Happy International Women's Day.
International Women's Day.
What do I say after the insightful, discussions by the panelists? Yes, I really thank you again, Nahaz. Thank you, Director of Ceremonies. I'd like to recognize the presence of the following: the formidable, trailblazing chairperson of the BSE, Neno Moki. We are suitably inspired, man. Yes. And the BSE NCSDB board members here present, BSE CEO, Ratsaule, our distinguished panelists and moderator, starting with our keynote speaker, Mapumapi, Raleboha, and then going to Ma Kanaimba Sinai, chairperson of the SOS Children's Villages Botswana, CEO of Letloela Rona Limited, Ms. Kamohelo Moaneng, Chief Investment Officer at Kori Capital, Ms. Serofaso Tlong, CFA. They must know, Creative and cultural specialist, as well as founder for Tsatsiwe, Ms. Maran Selolwane. The rest of BSE management and staff, members of the media, members of the public. Allow me to also acknowledge the presence of key stakeholders within the ecosystem of capital markets. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Dumelang. A very good morning to you all.
As we draw this commemorative ceremony to a close, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all the distinguished speakers who have graced us with their presence today. Your insightful contributions have enriched our understanding of the pivotal role that women play in accelerating progress, not only within the realm of the finance sector, but across all sectors of society. Your expertise and passion have truly illuminated the significance of the occasion, and we are deeply honored to have had you join us. Today, on the occasion of International Women's Day, we gather under the global theme, Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress. This theme resonates profoundly with the mission and values of Botswana Stock Exchange. For us, investing in women is not just a moral imperative. It's a strategic imperative for driving economic growth, fostering innovation, and promoting sustainable development. By empowering women economically and ensuring their full participation in the financial markets, we not only enhance the performance and resilience of our economy, but also create a more inclusive and equitable, underline that one, equitable society. To invest in women means to recognize and harness their immense potential as leaders, entrepreneurs, and agents of change. So you find women everywhere, or rather we should find them everywhere, right from the top. Yes. It means providing them with equal access to opportunities, resources, and decision-making platforms. It means challenging the entrenched biases and systemic barriers that hinder their advancement. A lot was said about cultural norms and other issues. So we have to get rid of all of that. And it means fostering a culture of diversity, inclusion, and gender equality within our organizations and our communities. For the Botswana Stock Exchange, investing in women is not a mere slogan. You were given the stats earlier. It's a commitment ingrained in our values and culture. We are proud to champion initiatives that promote the participation of women in the capital markets, whether through targeted support for women-led businesses, gender-sensitive investment strategies, or programs that enhance financial literacy and empowerment among women investors. By doing so, we aim to unlock new sources of value and drive sustainable growth that benefits all segments of society. Moreover, the theme of Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress holds particular significance for the people of Botswana. In our nation, women have long been pillars of strength, resilience, and leadership. From the classroom to the boardroom, from rural communities to urban centers, women have been driving positive change and shaping the future of our country. Yet, in spite of their invaluable contribution, women continue to face persistent challenges and disparities, especially in the economic sphere. Today, as we celebrate International Women's Day, let's reaffirm our commitment to leveling the playing field and empowering women to reach their full potential. Let us harness the power of collaboration, innovation, and solidarity to create an enabling environment where every woman and girl can thrive and prosper. Let us recognize that by investing in women, we not only accelerate progress, but also create a more prosperous and sustainable future for generations to come. I'll be remiss in my duty not to extend my heartfelt thanks to all our partners and stakeholders who have made this event possible. Your unwavering dedication and collaboration have been instrumental in advancing our shared goals of gender equality and inclusive economic growth. I would also like to express my gratitude to the audience for your presence and engagement, as well as to the media for capturing and amplifying the important messages shared today. You were a very involved audience. Yeah. Yes. Additionally, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the BSE CEO, Mr. Thapelo Tseole, and his dedicated team for organizing a remarkable event in honor of International Women's Day. Their commitment to celebrating and advocating for gender equality is commendable and inspiring. Please keep up the good work. In closing, let us carry forward the spirit of this commemorative ceremony and the vision of International Women's Day as we continue our collective journey towards a more just, equitable, and prosperous world. Together, let us invest in women and accelerate progress for the betterment of all. Ke a leboga. And once again, from the Botswana Stock Exchange, to you, Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you so much for that. By amplifying the voices and experiences of women, celebrating their achievements and challenging stereotypes, we're advocating for a more inclusive and equitable world where every individual, regardless of their gender, has the opportunity to fulfill their full potential, where each and every individual can make a meaningful contribution. So we're calling upon you boys to join us in the Girls Club. There's plenty of room for us to thrive at the top. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Saholane Taha. Let's looking forward to our next conversation. A happy International Women's Day. Give yourselves a big round of applause. You've been a phenomenal audience. A big thank you once again to the media. Thank you, Meryl, for the invitation. It's an honor, it's a privilege. Ratel and your team, thank you for having us. And we are not done with us yet because there's going to be food. What's a party without food at the top? So we will all make our way to the 10th floor. Okay, so we'll allow our delegates to go first and we'll have time at the top. And for those that haven't taken leave like myself, please make sure you grab a drink and we go back and build the economy and go back to the office. Thank you so much for the time and looking forward to our next conversation. I'm available on LinkedIn, drop me a link and we'll chat and continue the conversation. Where you have direct questions for the panelists, they are all available on social media. Drop them a note and let's continue the conversation. Happy International Women's Day!